Recording in progress. Thank you. So I wanted to go to creator workshop number 3. Woohoo. I wanted to kind of do today, like to bring the creation stuff together in a kind of like a more holistic context so that it's more, maybe useful. And it was cool to actually sit down and put together what I've learned over the years and like how have I noticed that things work. And that's kind of what this is here. And let's move this over here. And so for me, so actually before we start, let's do clearing on the other thing I noticed is as I get into the topic of creating, it brings up like interference just kind of jumps in and is like, like, no, don't let him go there. Anybody else notice that? You start thinking about the topic of creating and all of a sudden you can feel like this alertness come online.
Yes.
And it's creating where there's significance.
Bingo. Exactly.
Bombarding.
Yeah. So that
trying to taking up polarity on. Yeah,
exactly. So there's the piece that I come back to is interference doesn't really understand your reality. Or what if interference doesn't really understand what's going on? They pretend they do. They definitely monitor. And the other thing Max had suggested, he says, check for what are all the monitoring and prediction devices in and around your reality. And you've probably heard that before, but allow yourself to perceive all the monitoring prediction devices in and around your reality and just perceive that stuff. Can we put all that in the pile?
Yes,
I choose that way out front. And all the random chaos generators, I always like to get that on the pile. What is all the I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't tell? And all the dormant or hidden, I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't tell. Wow. Hi. And all that stuff in the pile way out front. And these are the looping emotion projectors. So perceive any structures or constructs that are kind of general area down below. We're looking for the holographic projectors that are projecting. I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't tell. All the projectors and anything wired to those projectors, all in the pile. And as Jan mentioned, the thing that grabs the most is because they can't understand what's going on, they monitor for certain things. The thing to me is the most biggest monitoring is things that you consider significant or important. And it's kind of like we've been conditioned in this reality. It's like there's normal, blah, blah, blah. And then there's, this is important, right? And you were constantly conditioned. No, this is important. You need to take action. This is blah, blah, blah. So that's to me, a property of the matrix or the interference is the whole important thing, because it's a bandwidth that they can perceive. They get important. So to me, they don't know what you're doing, but they know when you're making something important, and that's a red flag. And they're like, okay, we got an important indicator, go attack them. And our brain goes, yeah, they know we're doing this. And they really don't. And I didn't believe it in the beginning when I was first told that, but as I've learned to not make things important or significant, I could do things that are actually really, really important and really, really significant, but because I'm just like, whatever, it's not a big deal. Interference is like, oh, all right, there's no action required here today. And I can sneak away through things that are really quite substantial, but I'm not making them substantial. It's tricky to do that. So, but what is all the form structure significance that we have around creating and the creation process? Wow. And that's one thing in this, the secret, that they're like, you know, this, you got to make this, anything you want to create, you got to make significant, you got to make it important, you got to make it really, like, make it a big deal, and you got to tell everybody about it. And you got to, it's like, no, you actually kind of want to keep it quiet. That's what I've learned. Is you just kind of want to keep it quiet and just kind of do your thing. And when it's all done, then you go tell people about it. But it's like when you're in the planning stages, no, I just kind of keep it quiet. I find that it's like when something works the way you want to, it's the other thing in the secret. They're like, you got to celebrate your creations. You got to celebrate what's working. And I noticed that screws with me. I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed that. It's like when a good thing happens and you celebrate it, what happens? Anybody else notice?
It's like I get backlash. For me, like I've been very cautious anymore to tell anyone when I start to do anything, because I can get, like, even when I started that program that I'd still like to finish that you did with the facilitating, that original one, I was so excited and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then it was like, then I had even just attacks and all kinds of, oh, it's like, okay, I'm still going to do this, but guess what? I'm not going to let anyone know.
Yep.
And
yep.
Yeah.
Low key is the way to go. It's that to me is another thing. It's like interference is so desperate to understand what's going on in your reality that they program us with these cues. And one of them is to celebrate your successes. Why? They don't want you to be successful. And what happens when you are successful and you celebrate it? You get slammed. Not all the time, but I often would get slammed. And I've just naturally learned, when I have a success, I'll just kind of quietly gloat internally. And I'm just like, yeah. And that works for me. So what is all the conditioning or programming that we have around making things important, making things significant, telling other people about things, making it a big deal? Oh, and all that in the pile? And all the decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, projections, expectations, rejections, separations. Whoa, all that in the pile. And what is everything we decided all this stuff means that it doesn't actually mean? Yeah, there we go. And all that in the pile. And what is everything we decided all this stuff doesn't mean that it actually does mean? And there's some stuff, but it's not dramatic. All that in the pile. Wow. And what is all the unconsciousness, anti-consciousness, energy fog, disinformation, cloaking, word kinks, command, booby traps, some of that. Covert, unseen, unacknowledged, undisclosed. Ooh, that's funky ass. And all the unknowable, unspeakable, unfeelable, untouchable, undetectable. Not as much. All that in the pile. And body, let all that go. Not you, not yours, not you, not yours, not you, not yours. Wow. And what is everything? Is there split here? Yeah. What is everything that we're body and being are aligning and agreeing with around any of these? Resisting and reacting to? Oh, wow. Defending for? Defending against? Righteous for? Righteous against? Oh, I have all against stuff here. And all that in the pile? And body, planet, let all that go. Not you, not yours, not you, not yours. And what is everything that was originally perceived to be the benefit or value of all these points of view? Yeah. And what is everything that was not the benefit or value? Then what else was not the benefit or value? And what is everything that was not the benefit or value? Wow. And now compare what is everything that was not the benefit or value to everything that was originally perceived to be the benefit or value? Yeah, maybe not. Not so much. And all that in the pile way up front. And everything from down below, back behind, up above, above that, above that, above that. anything remaining above, way up front, from the left, from the right, everything from inside body, everything from inside planet, ooh, way in the pile, way up front, encapsulate. And can we shrink all that stuff down to less than nothing?
Yes, I
Yes,
choose
I
that.
choose that.
Yeah, I
Yes,
choose that. Ooh. Shrink, and then all the bigger stuff remaining. Ooh. Smaller, smaller. Hap, 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 hap. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
You know what you just reminded me of? When Brian had a daughter who was BPD, borderline personality disorder. And anytime that we tried to celebrate anything, she would blow it up, fuck it up. We could never, just something always happened. We could never celebrate anything.
Yep. It's fascinating how consistent interference is with that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
And
like,
Crystal, that's,
what
sorry,
do you
can I
go?
Crystal, interesting because I actually was with someone who I know had that going on or something very similar. And every time I tried to share something or just like you're saying, oh, he would just come uncorked. It's like nothing could ever be like, or celebrate anything, or like if I did well at something, then it had to be turned around, and interference highly worked through that person. So
Right, because it can't be about anybody else but them.
Yep.
yeah, it's so yeah, thank you for sharing that, because I was like, geez, am I the only one that this like?
Well, if you
A great book on that, I know it's an aside, sorry, but a great book on that is I Love You, Don't Leave Me.
Okay, great.
oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
I've heard about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great title. Until you read the rest of the book and you're like, ooh.
Right. You're like, ew, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting in that one of my ex-partners down the road, or in the past, when I could tell when they were interfered with. When I would have a success and I would celebrate it with them, they were like right there with me and they would support me. And it's like, yeah, way to go. And when interference was there for them, oh, they would tear me down in the cruelest ways. And they afterwards didn't see it as a big deal, because it's almost like they weren't there. They were taken over by interference. And so
Yeah.
they're like, what are you making this a big deal about? Like I don't even remember what I said. It's like, yeah, because you weren't fucking here. I didn't say that at the time, but so interference, that's just what interference does. And when you can see it that way, I don't know, it depersonalizes stuff and makes it easier just to, I don't know, see what's going on for me. I guess that's kind of the context there. Anybody else have anything on that? Okay. So let's go back and share and enjoy. Share and enjoy. And we're going to make you bigger. Okay. Come on. Do what I ask. And so here's the main steps that I see. So there's choosing, questioning, taking action, and then refining your focus. And clearing is in there wherever you need it. Like, and these aren't necessarily in any given order. There's not you need to do it this way in this order or it's not going to work. There's no order to it in particular. But when you're first starting out, this is kind of the flow of it. Once you repeat, so it's like you might start by choosing. It's like, well, what is it you want to explore, you want to do? Well, I think I might like, and the example I'm going to use in here, because I just recently had it, was I think I want to get a motorbike. Okay. And it was interesting because you're like, okay, big deal, you're going to get a motorbike. That was my original thing. It's like, okay, big deal, I'm just going to go get a motorbike. I wanted to upgrade or change the one that I currently have, and didn't want a brand new one, but I wanted something different. And I thought, this is easy. I don't even have to put attention on it. I don't need to do any creating thing with it. I just go do it. Like, I know how to do that. It's kind of like going to the grocery store, though I don't do it that often. But I was like, well, I'm just going to go do that. what I found was that I kept hitting weird, stupid stuff over and over and over and over again. I'm like, okay, I need to put focus creation on this. So this is a process that you can use even if you're trying to do things that aren't really that big of a deal, but they're not working the way you expect it to, which is what happened to me. And so I put this in as a concept because I noticed what was going on. Is like, okay, I want to get a bike, and I knew what model, because it just, my body felt better riding it when I rented one when I was on vacation. And I hadn't gone into question. I chose it and I took action. And it's just like, oh, I know where to go. There's a place in town here that sells a lot of them. And it was just, no matter what I did, it wouldn't work. So it's like, okay, stop, pause. Let's do this formally. So I stopped and I started asking questions. So typically it's choose, what is it that you're looking to create? Question. Okay, so you just start asking questions about what is it you're looking to find, and I'll look at how you do that. Then you start taking action. And in this case, I hadn't asked questions. I just went from choose to take action, and it didn't work because I wasn't asking for enough information, or I wasn't asking the right question. I was assuming I knew how to do it, and in this case, that wasn't relevant. So choose, question, take action, refine and focus, clear anywhere along this strip as you see it. So as you take action, you get the action isn't about, to me, action is more about getting information. It's not about getting it done. Take action is about getting information about, okay, so I take action to this place that I think I know is going to be really simple to get a bike, and it didn't work. So I have to refine and refocus, and which had me come around my repeat loop and go, oh, I haven't asked questions about it. Let's do that. So you can refine anytime you come back loop. You can go back to either one of these, refine and then take a different action, refine and then choose, refine and then clear. But it's like, that's kind of a simple loop, but let's look at how that comes together. So choosing, basically it's just deciding something. I'm deciding I want to do this, and it's a starting place. The choosing isn't the thing. Like New Age would have you choose and lock that down and make that significant. And then when it changes in any way or tweaks in any way, or you find that, well, it's not exactly what you're looking for, you start making yourself wrong. And it's like, no, your initial choice, my experience with my initial choices are 9 times out of 10, it's in the ballpark, but it's not really close to what it is that I'm actually seeking to create. Sometimes it's close, but often it's kind of just in the ballpark. And the bigger it is, the farther out in the future it is, the more ballpark it is. Like yeah. So if I'm creating, like when I first was looking to create a business doing facilitating, it was so far out in the future. There were so many steps involved. It was years away. I had all kinds of really harebrained viewpoints about what I would do based on things I borrowed from other facilitators that was like, yeah, I think I want that. But down the road, it's like, no, that what I thought I wanted, we kind of throw that out. So what you choose for big things is ballpark. For small things like I want a new motorbike, you can have a pretty good idea of what that is, but how that's going to happen, that may have some flexibility. But choosing, don't get attached to what it is. Think of it as a starting place. And you're going to constantly keep coming back and refining and refocusing. My favorite way to do choosing is actually doing the question. What does it create in 10 years if I do this? What does it create in 10 years if I do something else? I need to add a space in there. It's like that. That's my go-to question for things. And it gives me information about what direction to head. It's not always black and white, but it gives me a sense of where do I put my attention on? So it actually choosing for me and question are really close together, but question on choosing.
What kind of answers do you get when you ask, what does it create in 10 years if I choose this? Because I always kind of get like jumbled answers when I ask that.
Yeah. So for me, what I end up getting is just a pile of information. Like it's a pile of energies, like a cloud of energies. And I look at like, when I'm asking and I'm looking for like, what is it? What is my satisfaction level with the outcome in 10 years? It's like, you look back 10 years and you look at decisions you made, and you can look at something, you're like, yeah, that was spot on, and I'm really happy about that, and that was really good. And there's other ones you're like, no, I didn't like that at all. It's kind of that. It's like you're almost going forward 10 years and looking back and seeing what that option would look like. But it's just a cloud of information. And what I've learned also is, depending on how significant you make it, interference can participate in it. And how it typically looks if interference participates is, you ask for information, you start to get something, and then something blocks it off, or something heavy jumps in front of it, or something distracts you, or like there's the initial thing, and then there's the boom. So what I do is, when I ask the question, what does it create in 10 years if I do this? And I look instantaneously at it, and then I monitor to see if something tries to come in and interfere with it. And if that's the case, I banish or track it and banish. And then I'll go do it again. And I'm looking for just the information, and there's no information followed by something else. That something else is typically interference. So I'll get, what does it create in 10 years if I do that? And there's a cloud of things. And one is typically like, the one I don't want typically is like, or doesn't have a big cloud. And the one that does feel lighter just feels more expansive, or lighter, or satisfying, or fulfilling. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. And I think that, but that's actually a brilliant question too. So thank you. You had also shared with us, like, does this enhance my life, or does this, like, asking if you want to keep an object or get rid of an object? Do you remember that when you taught us that? It was a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah. So
I love that question.
Okay, cool.
And I use that a lot because I'm sort of a clutter bug. And so I'll hold something like a shirt or whatever. I'll be like, okay, in 5 years, does this create the life I want, or does this degrade the life I want?
Yeah.
And I'll get kind of I'll get clear answers on that, asking it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of, as long as you're monitoring for interference, and like, I used to be very specific about the wording. What does it create in 10 years if I do this, like if I get, I'll use my negative example. What does it create in 10 years if I find a 300cc dual cylinder, fuel injected, 5-speed dual ABS motorbike? And no.
Very specific though.
Yeah, but no, it creates just weird garbage. What is, I go more by the feel, the overall feel of what it is that I'm seeking to create. It's like, so I actually don't put in fancy words. I get the sense of what it is I'm looking to create. And what does it create in 10 years if I get a new bike? What does it create in 10 years if I do something else? And I keep it really, really simple with that question. Otherwise, I'm just asking interference to waltz in and come on, play with me. So yeah. Other questions on the choosing?
Well, I just want to say it's very interesting because I was wondering why, when I asked this question, something is heavy, and then the more I wait, it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. So thank you for the explanation about interference.
Interference. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's the more, and that's just come over time. It's like you notice what interference's patterns are. And again, I don't think they know what you're doing and they don't understand the information, because when I watch it happen in other people, I see it's almost like they're going to a place. Interference recognizes you go to a certain place to check something. They have no clue what you're doing, but they sense this is significant. And so they'll sense where you're going, and then they'll drop in whatever they know works. For some people, there's like they know that I had one lady or one friend who they knew how to do something in her belly, and she'd go to check something, and then they would clench something in her belly, and she's like, "Oh no, that's clenchy. That we can't do that." I'm like, "Clenchy? What the hell's clenchy?" And if you do watch what you're doing in slow motion, and it's like there's you doing what you're doing, there's a pause, and then there's a response to that. The pause and the response is typically interference, because your authentic information is just right there instantaneously. So yeah, that's how that's the way I check it. Yeah. So so choosing, it's just I'm deciding to do something, and it could be light choosing, or it could be like, this is going to happen. However you want it. It's not necessarily substantial, like what level. It depends on what you're doing and what level you're at. There are some things, like when I was doing the facilitating thing, it's like, this is going to happen, but how do I do that without making it significant? It's just my internal, like, this is where I'm going. Like this just needs to happen, but how can I do that without being significant about it? But there's levels of choosing. There's like, yeah, like the bike thing was like, yeah, I just know that I want that. It wasn't like, oh, I need a new bike. It was just, it's something I want. And when I get around to it, I'm going to do that. So it doesn't have to be a big deal choosing. It's just a choice, a decision to do that. Questioning, it's like, what information can you get that's going to give you the most direct route to get from where you are now to where you're seeking to be, which I kind of like that question. It's like you're asking the big field through the body. I just typically go through the body to access the big field. I can go as an infinite being, but I want to participate with my body. Your body is your partner in the creation process. Actually, I haven't found a good word. I use pilot here. Your body is a pilot. I used to say your body is what creates in physical reality. And it's kind of true, but not the whole truth. So I don't have a good word for that, but it's kind of like, I see it as my body is what engages physical creation here. So I want to engage my body, but being is participating in it. It's not like body does it all. Being does a certain piece and body does a certain piece, and together you create what it is you're seeking to create. But if you're ignoring your body, you're missing out on a lot of power and potency and a lot of what makes things fun and easy and magical and playful and powerful and even fulfilling. It's like, I really do want to go back to this sense of, though it's not 100% accurate, that your body is what creates in physical reality. If you think about it that way, even though it's not totally true, because it's a joint venture, your body is a key component. How do you engage your body? So part of it, by asking my body to connect to the big field and get information, which is normally kind of what I invite y'all to do. You're asking a question of the body to get a download about where you're going. So it's kind of like through body, you're connecting to the big field and you're putting out there, I choose this. How does this resonate in the big field? Like what does that stir up in the big field? And you're seeing kind of how it plugs into the big picture of things. To me, the big field, I used to call universe, is like, it gets where you're heading. And I'm using that as a feedback to get a sense of, am I on track, or am I pointing in the ballpark, the direction that I'm seeking to go? And I'm asking of the big field, it's like, okay, so what's the most direct way to get from where I am now to where I'm seeking to be? What's the most fun way? How can I, blah, blah, what does it look like? I'm asking questions to see, what does the big field perceive? Again, my sense of the big field is it's out of time. So it already knows where I'm heading. It already has a sense of, and there are multiple timelines. There's multiple choices that I took. So it's not that there's the right one. There are multiple ones that I still have not chosen yet, but I'm tapping into that information and I get, okay, there's this choice here, there's this choice here, there's this choice here, there's this choice here. It's like, oh, I have some variety of things here. So when I'm asking the big field for information, I'm downloading that content, integrating it, body's digesting it. And then it's like, I start to become aware of, oh, there's something about, there's these different choices I can have. Like when I was looking at facilitating, I was originally thinking about traveling around a lot, which is what a lot of other people were doing. And a lot of my peers were doing back then. And my mind thought that would be a good thing. My body was like, the big field was like, you better master the online thing, like focus on the online thing. And as soon as COVID, it became really obvious why that was really important to do. And I'm not saying that I couldn't have done the other thing. There were other reasons for not doing that, but it's like, you don't know the bigger picture, whereas the big field typically has a sense of that bigger picture. When you ask and you download that stuff, it's giving you the sense of options and almost the right answer, or the most direct answer. Like if I had chosen to focus all my energy on setting up networks in such a way that I can do public things and gather people, which my body wasn't so happy about, the traveling and that kind of thing. But it's like that would have caused me problems. Like, but I had no way of knowing that. There's no way, like, but the field knew that. And in my downloading of information, it was like, the online thing just feels lighter. My brain said, yeah, but it's like, yeah, but this feels lighter. Let's roll with that. So that's how I'm using questions to access that information. So you're asking questions that download the path and a sense of the future state that you prefer, or that would work better for you personally. When you ask your body, you're getting it in the context of both body and being. I can go check it from being's point of view. And I do sometimes will check, well, how does my infinite being feel about this? But I'm doing it sans body and so I'm not getting the richness of that other information. So I really suggest you go through that. So then I gave good examples and bad examples here because it's useful to, again, you don't want the huge detail. I found it just stalls things and chokes on things, because it's like you set out for 300 cc and what you find is a 350 or a 250 or a 200 or something different, and then that number is choking something when the number is not ultimately that big of a deal, even if you think it is. So ultimately, I focus on body, and it's like, how can I find a motorbike that body would most love to have and drive? It's simple, it's body focused, and I try to keep it in language that's body language. Like this here isn't body language. My body doesn't think that way. My brain thinks that way. I want body's like, well, what feels good, right? It's like, what, like you can think about it as a car. It's like when you get in and you're driving, you just know it feels good. Like that is a package of all kinds of details that are flexible and that are malleable, and that in some vehicles it would be this and in some vehicles it would be that, but you just know it when you feel it. Like you're downloading all that detail when you ask a big juicy question like that, a body question. When you go into the details, it's just like, okay. So if I'd already gotten a great motorbike, what awareness would I be having? And it's, I love to download the future state of a direction. So it tells me like what is, which of the potential timelines I most likely already chose and am already happy with. Like of the different timelines, which one am I happiest with is another way of saying that same question. And it's like, at the same time, I'm getting a sense of what was the path that I chose to getting there. Like all that is in that content that you download. That one simple question is downloading all that information and giving you a sense of direction. While this isn't exactly the polar opposite, I see people do this out there in the world, and I just want to red flag it. God, bring me a good motorbike. Or angels, please help me to find a good motorbike. And if I were to like get into the minutia of like what's really going on there, it's kind of like you're asking an agent to go access information for you. And not only are you going to get that agent's interpretation and their spin and their judgments, and whether they like you or not, whether they're actually going to give you something that's going to screw you over, is going to be beneficial for you, but you're also hiring them, and they're going to expect something in return from you. This is the one of the big beefs I have about using angels for things. You can get angels who'd be you can always get angels that are quite happy to do all kinds of things for you. But you think you're getting them for free. You're not. You're paying for their service. How are you paying for their service is a question you want to ask. Like there's some people who are still compelled to use angels, and I'm not saying don't, but realize there's a price you're paying, and typically the gods are going to be the one who are the benefactors of that. So this is why I don't ask agents or guides or helpers. I'm going to ask my body and my body's connection to the planet. So that's why that is tangly. So what's the easiest way to get a great motorbike? And I'm focusing on it being simple. And I'll often, these are literally the questions I asked. It's like, I'll ask a variety of questions. They're all very simple. They're not sophisticated. They're not tangly. I'm just looking for different ways of accessing different information. So here I'm looking for what's the easiest way. And this one came about because I'm bashing my head against the wall, getting a motorbike from the place that mentally should have been the easiest way. It totally was not. And everything that I believed made it easy was not easy. Yet when I actually asked what's the easiest way, it came out and I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, okay. And I did that and they had equal or better selection than the place that I thought had the best selection. And yeah, it was terribly, I just learned has a lot of interference. So other negative example, how can I find a motorbike that doesn't break all the time? I'll hear people say this, and I used to do it all the time too. Don't focus on the negative. If you focus on the negative, you're inviting, you're basically coming at it from a negative perspective. And as far as the universe is concerned, or the big field is concerned, you're seeking a negative experience here about braking all the time. It just reads motorbike, brake all the time. Cool. Okay. Here's the information. Here's what's light about a motorbike braking all the time. Cool. I'll go do that. You don't, the doesn't and the don'ts and the negative, the negations don't read well for bodies or for informational systems. Avoid negations. It's just not going to take you where you want to go. What ease and magic with finding an enjoyable motorbike is now possible? And I'm focusing on the ideal process. It's like you've had those experiences where you're like, that was so magical. I love how that came together. By asking this question about what ease and magic, ease optional, magic, what magic is now possible in doing this thing that you're seeking to do, you're looking for not only what is a simple route and a fun route, but a route that's like magical, where stuff just comes together. So I get this motorbike and I get this lady who I go to check in. I'm like, I'll buy it. She's like stunned, like, well, already? I'm like, well, I test drove it and I like it and I'll buy it. I know the price of these things and I'll buy it. This is a good price. She's like, oh, okay. And she said, well, I'll knock off money from it. And I'll even take you to the place, because I know you don't speak Thai. I'll even take you to the place to help register it. And I'll even take it to a shop and I'll have them do the oil changing, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, wow, thank you. Like, it was magical. I wouldn't have gotten any of this stuff out of the other place that I went to, but what my asking for a magical place, I got this red carpet treatment for buying this used bike from these people who are selling a bike. And it was just so freaking cool because I asked that question. It's like, and I made that, it's like, I download that. It's like, oh yeah, I like magical. Body likes magical. It's like, yeah, okay, well, what is that? So I'm tuned looking for, as I'm looking at ads or I'm looking at choices, I'm attuning to which one of these has that little magical flag. Like when you tap into it, you're like, ooh, that's a little sparkle on that. It's like because you've put that out there and you've downloaded that, what that feels like when you come up to a solution that has that quality about it, you know it, and you're more inclined to follow that. So that's what the downloading does. It gives you pre-knowing about what direction would actually be most magical or most whatever word you're asking for here. Go back to negative. How can I find a bike by next week? Or by any reference in time is gonna sabotage things. When you're asking the big field, it works timeless. You throw a time thing in and it monkey wrenches it in some way I can't quite grab, but I feel the effect of it. So even if you're in a hurry for it, whatever it is you're trying to create, don't put time in there in a concrete way. You can say soon, or you can say generic time if you need to. Often I leave that unspoken. Like it's just it's in my field. I need this quick. It's the same thing here when I'm asking for bike. I don't need to ask all the freaking details of it. Time is another detail. So I don't add the time component. If it's something that needs to be timely, that's built in the energy of your questioning. So I don't even include the timing component at all. How can I find a motorbike that's in good shape and at a good price? I keep refining questions and exploring with other ways of asking it. And I'm just looking for questions that feel good. When I ask these questions, my body's like, ooh, yeah, the downloads just felt juicy. It's like, yeah, that feels good. So that's really all you're doing is you just keep asking some questions, simple languaging, body-centered, that just feel good. And those feel good questions create more. Like they feel good because they're the future that has the most juice in it, or has the most of the things you've requested about it. I want something magical. I want it easy. I want it this. I want it that. It's like it has the most of that in there. And so you feel that more tangibly. That's, you're downloading exactly, you're on point, and it's another indicator that your body's saying, yeah, I can do a good job with this. Okay. How can I find a motorbike that always works? Again, it's got a negative spin on it, but avoid extremes. Always, never, totally, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Any questions on questions?
I'm just being attacked as we ask these. I've been choosing to clear it, but is there something we can do more?
Yeah. So what are all the exploiters, corruptors, tricksters, pre-tag, pre-caps et al, free step down, trace, scan et al, and all their networks, hype, civilizations, universes, all their customers, clients, shareholders, stock board directors, pre-tag, pre-caps et all. Wow. Wow. And what are the hidden cloaked, seemingly inaccessible, not active yet to be identified entities, demonic creatures, aliens, reptilians, parasitics, beings, doing gods, pre-tag, pre-caps, all. Wow. Pre-tag, pre-caps. And where were we at their creation? At their assembly? We're the infinite being at their creation, assembly, gilding, sourcing, inception, insertion, modification, corruption, distortion, pre-tag, pre-caps. Can we banish all those?
Yeah.
I choose it.
Yeah, I choose it. Out, banish, anguish, out, banish, anguish, out. Banish, anguish, out, banish, anguish, null void, out, banish, anguish, out, banish, anguish, out, banish. Wow. And what are all the manipulations and illusions here? And what is all the identity theft, Trojan horses, inversions, false reciprocal debt, recursive entrapments, all the cores? Whoa. Oh, a lot of cores. Encapsulate. Can we just try and create all those, including the cores?
Yeah, I choose
Yeah,
it.
I choose that. And pulverize the cores. Rest of the way. Null void, out, banish, anguish, out, banish, anguish, out, banish, resendable key count, copy, pressing by null void. Wow. Wow. How's that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Was there something you were making significant by any chance?
No, actually, I was choosing not to. I'm actually out on grass, like trying to make this really comfortable.
Yeah.
Some stuff was coming up from the past, like with like downloads, like the angel stuff that I had done
Got it.
years ago.
Yeah.
Different ox.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Questions about questions? Okay. So taking action. I'll keep that hidden. No, I'm going to just pop it up there. Taking action. To me, this is an action-based reality. One of the things I noticed New Age is in the New Age promotes dreaming about or imagining what you want. And to me, that's just totally bogus. It does this, and I've tried it, and you watch the pattern of what they're trying to do is have you go to a synthetic reality and create it in a synthetic reality. They're trying to get you to shift to this magical reality where God creates things for you and you don't have to do anything. And those realities exist, but then you're trapped in that synthetic construct instead of being in the real physical reality where stuff really creates. So what are all the, I call this fantasy realities. What are all the fantasy realities or synthetic realities that you've ever put creation energy towards? Because if you store creation energy in one of those realities and then you step out of it, it keeps calling you back into it, because it's like, oh, but you've created here before and you didn't finish. It's like those websites where you buy something and they keep sending you an email to let you know you still have things in your cart. It's kind of like that. So what are all the creation energies that you've put into synthetic realities, into fantasy realities? Wow. And encapsulate all that. And can we destroy and create all that and recover all those energies?
Yes, I choose that.
Yeah, I choose that. And boo, null void, null void. And resend, revoke, recant, claim, renounce, denounce, just trying to create null void, null void, null void, null void. It's radiate, null void, null void, null void, null void, null void. It's almost like, it's like you put a deposit towards something. You're getting your deposit back and you're saying, no, never mind, cancel that. I'm not gonna do that. That's it. You're just reclaiming your deposit again. But if your deposit stays there, then it keeps trying to draw you out to those other realities. And what are all the agreements that you have with these other realities to create out in these other synthetic spaces? Oh. Wow. And all the oaths, vows, commitments, communities, fealties, swearings, promises, agreements, contracts, entry, exit, re-entry agreements, divine, golden, billion, trillion year agreements. Yeah, a lot of God stuff. Safety protection clauses, allegiances, alliances, loyalties, diplomatic relations. Whoa, a lot of alien stuff. Wow. Null void, null void, null void. And all the binds, double binds, triple binds, quadruple binds, binds beyond binds, binds beyond binds to infinitum. Auto install, reinstall, backup systems, technologies, magics, anchors, black meta technologies, magics, signatories. Can we just try and create all those agreements?
Yes, I choose that.
Yeah, I choose that. Null void, null void, null void, null void, null void, null void, null void. And just null void, less than nothing. Shrink it down. Less than nothing, less than nothing, nothing, nothing. Wow. Wow. And programs. Yeah. What are all the programs that are installed in your reality that take you out of authentic, natural creation with the authentic planet and the authentic process? What are all the programs that try to override or distract from or take you into synthetic reality? And all those programs, grab all those up on the screen out front. And wow, all the programs from down below. Wow. Programs from back behind, all programs from up above, all programs from way out front, from the left, from the right, any programs from inside body, all programs from inside planet. Oh, yuck. Encapsulate. Wow. And repeat after me. All intercessions exterminate here now.
All intercessions exterminate here now.
All intercommunications exterminate here now.
All intercommunications exterminate here.
All interconnections exterminate here now.
All interconnections exterminate here now.
All programs, machines, data streams terminate here now.
Machines
Terminate here now.
And all programs, machines, data streams exterminate here now.
data streams exterminate.
Data streams exterminate here now.
Wow. Wow. I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. Body's like, no, you better clear that. Okay. And can we shrink all the remaining stuff down to less than nothing?
Yes, I choose
Yeah,
that.
choose that. Boo. No way, no way, no way. And what are all the remaining exploiters, corruptors, tricksters, pre-tagged print caps at all, free step down trace scanned all of their customers, clients, shareholders, stock board directors, networks, hive civilizations, universes, pre-tagged print caps at all. And where were we, the infinite beings, at their creation, assembly, gilding, sourcing, inception, insertion, modification, corruption, distortion, pre-tagged print caps at all. And can we banish all these energies?
So choose that.
Yeah, I choose that. Out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish. And what is, not much left. So what are all the manipulations, illusions holding them in place? And what is all the identity theft, borrowed credibility? All the Trojan horses. All the inversions, upside downs, inside out, backwards, sideways. Oh yeah, encapsulate all that. All the false reciprocal debt, they helped us, so we have to help them. Some. And what are all the recursive entrapments? Wow. Encapsulate all those. How many cores? Wow. 18, 19, 18, 17, 16. Well, there's a lot of them. Encapsulate, can we destroy and create all those, including the cores?
Yes, I choose.
Yes.
Yeah, I choose that. Ooh, pulverize. And less than nothing, less than nothing, less than nothing. And any bigger stuff. No void, no void. And out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish. Out, resend the book, you can't reclaim, null void, null void, null void. Yeah, much better. Okay. So action is the key here. Where it's confusing, what I learned that I didn't understand is action we're conditioned to think action is about getting something done. And action is more about taking a step in the direction that you think you're going and seeing what feedback you get. So let me give you an example. So let's say you download these questions of like, and you have this sense of something, and it's like there, you don't know what it is, but you feel it. It's like it's right there. But then in the process, somewhere along the line, an action comes up that interference inserts, or your brain inserts. It says, we're going to do this over here. Okay. Remember, we're going over there. We're going to do this over here. So you take an action step, big, small, doesn't matter. It's taking action. I take some step towards that direction. And the taking the action is useful in that when you take that step, you get the feedback of like, oh, wait a minute, something's not right here. Because it's like that action, if you're going here and you start walking in this direction, you get this sense of like, wait a minute, I'm not going the right direction. It's just this gut. You're like, something's not right here. Your actions are more to give you feedback about things. Like what commonly happens for people who are doing facilitating is, well, I got to make a website. Everybody's like, oh, I got to make a website. And of all the things that you could do to become a facilitator, it's probably the least significant and most time-sucking thing you could possibly do. So what does Jaden do when he first starts out? He's like, I got to make a website. Remember, I'm going over here. I got to make a website. And it just felt off. And it just felt wrong. Yet I knew I needed to make a website. Like, of course you need a website. Everybody needs a website. But it just like brain kept pulling me there. Interference kept pulling me there. And I tried for weeks and weeks. And it's like, no, this is not working. And no, this is not right. And I didn't have the energy for it. And I kept trying to push myself to do the website, but there was no energy. It's like, it's feedback. If you don't have the energy for that direction, it's not the right direction. Most often, the direction that you know you want to go has a built-in energy supply or sourcing. There's a built-in motivation to it. when you take an action step, and you might have a little excitement the first day, you're like, yeah, I'm going to take a step. Yeah. And I took a step and I started doing the website stuff. And the first day felt funky, but okay. The second day was like not good. The third day was just shitty. The fourth day was just shitty, but I nose to grindstone. I know I'm going to do this. I'm going to just force my way through this. And at week 2 or 3, I'm like, okay, maybe this is not the right way to go. And the answer was, no, it was not the right way to go. It's not what I needed to do to start. It's like that. If your action steps give you feedback, my feedback was like, there's no motivation here. There's no drive. I had to push myself. It's not exciting. It's not fun. All the things I said I wanted. It's like, that's not going in the right direction, or it's not the right time for it. In this case, it was not the right time for it. There were other things I needed to do first. So it's like, okay, so I was like, damn it, I can't do the website. Oh, I hate that. Like the brain was really pissed off about it. Interference was blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, so what's the light thing to do? And I got over myself and I'm like, okay, so what would be fun? It's like, well, it'd be fun just to put on a Facebook and just start trying a workshop. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. I know, but is it fun? Yes. Well, do it. And I did it. And that taking that step towards that felt energizing and light and exciting and was like, wow. And it wasn't rational. It wasn't logical. It didn't make sense to my mind. In hindsight, it made sense, but at the time, it made no sense at all. It was cart before the horse for my brain, but it felt light and I had the energy to do it. And it was like, well, all right, let's do that. But that opened doors and that brought me people and that brought me connections and started me doing my list. And the concept here is you want to take your steps give you feedback. The step you take is not important. The feedback on the step that you've taken is valuable. Does that ring for anybody? Like, or questions on that?
Well, I'm just making the link with the question I asked you on the last call about procrastination. If you're doing a step in the wrong direction, you think that you're doing procrastination, but you're just on the wrong path.
The wrong path, yeah. Yeah, and then you abuse yourself about procrastinating when it's actually you're aware. It's like what's right about you that you're not getting. You feel that? It's like, oh yeah, I knew that wasn't the right step. In hindsight, you can go back and go, yeah, that obviously wasn't the right step because that was the right step. But that's how you find out. So you don't really even need to know. It's like when there's some things where you're heading out in a direction, you really have no freaking clue how you're going to get there. But you could even just take random. Sometimes it does seem random, honestly. It's like, we try a step in this direction, not so much. Take a step in this direction, ooh, warmer. You take another step, you're like, not as warm. Take a step in this direction, ooh, that's even warmer than this one. Take a step in this direction, no, I'm going to go back to this one. And it's that warmer, colder game that you played as a kid. I don't know if everybody played that, but it's like, I don't even remember the game anymore. But are you getting warmer? You're getting cooler? That kind of, whatever that game was. It's that kind of thing. It's like, well, each step gives you more feedback about what direction you're going. Other questions about taking action?
Well, it just makes me laugh because in the last week we've been looking at houses, and today my partner found one and he was just, well, this one is available. Would you like to visit? Do you want me to contact the agent? And my answer was, well, I'm frozen. I don't know what to say. So you're talking about hot and cold, and I'm just, okay, I was completely frozen this morning while visiting that house.
Yeah. And so how much was that interference? How much was that your awareness of something there that's not necessarily to your advantage? How much is it something else?
I get that it was my awareness.
Yeah. Like if, what does it create in 10 years if you visit that house? Was it create in 10 years if you do something else?
Yeah, something else is
Yeah.
way more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So originally my default response would be always to make myself wrong. But if I rule that out, because making myself wrong just means interference, it's like, wait, I'm going to make myself wrong. There's interference involved here. Okay, so how is interference involved? Like in this case, going to see that place just feels, ugh. And if he understands that, then it's like, no, that place doesn't feel, something feels icky about it. It's like, well, if you want to go look, you can go look. Like it's, you know, it's how invested each person is. But yeah, sometimes just expressing it lets the other person go, oh yeah, I had noticed it, but I kind of ignored it because I liked this about the place. Yeah, good awareness.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Anybody else? Questions around taking action or thoughts around taking action?
I just want to say that I really love what you're showing, like what you're saying in this call, because it's true that, you know, I tend to go more on my mental and I should do this. This is like the natural steps I should take. And, you know, it's, for example, well, it's a natural step to go visit houses and just to know better what are your likes and dislikes about the house. And, you know,
It's
so at first
logical.
yeah, exactly, it's logical, you know, but then, you know, when I see the kind of questions that you're asking, I'm going back to the choosing, I'm just, okay, yeah, no, it should be fun, it should be magical. So if I ask those questions, I mean, I'm gonna find the right way to do it that is fun for me and that is not stressful as I see it right now, or as I've seen it in the last week.
And like, there's houses that I visited where, like, I'm exaggerating, but it's like, it's a demon pit. It looked fine in the picture, but then you get there, you're like, oh, and then you spend 2 days trying to figure out what the hell you took in and clearing it and blah, 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 you know, and we've all had those experiences where it's like, I don't know what it is about that property or that location, but I don't want nothing to do with that. Sometimes like your awareness just grabs that in advance and it's like, I can't explain it, but I ain't going. You're welcome to if you want. I ain't going. I'll help you clear when you come back.
Well, I'm lucky enough to have a very supportive partner for that. So.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. So refining focus. Here's, I was looking for an image that would really put all this together. When you're, what you're doing when you're refining is you're constantly so you take one step, you're feeling the energy, you're like, oh yeah. And then here's the next step and there's the next step. And that's actually where I learned really the value of questions over mind. Is the mind just keeps taking you down these dead ends. And after about 6 or 7 dead ends, you realize, oh wait, this is the one. And that is actually the useful place. And the whole time body's going, yeah, it's the one that I suggested we do first. And I don't know if anybody else gets that. My body would do that to me. It's like, all right, if you want to do that. I'm like, then I learned after a while, it's like, okay, what do you know? Okay, body, what are you suggesting here? And I just learned that asking questions was literally the easiest, fastest way to get anything done, and almost the most consistently magical way of doing things. when I did it, and especially if I use the word magic in there, it just was. And it always surprised me how it was magical. It was just, there's a different cool way of doing it each time, or a cool thing that would come each time. But it's like, I couldn't have imagined it being that neat. I got that when I asked questions. Everything else was just a lot of fucking hard work, and I eventually got there. It's like, so those are my choices. I can do it by my mind, and it's a lot of fucking hard work, but I get there eventually. Or I can take the easy way and ask questions and listen to my body. That's honestly, I learned questions the hard way by comparing those two routes and going, yeah, no, we'll give that up. Thank you, mine. Body, what do you got? And so it's like, I want you to think about what you're choosing and where you're headed as being highly malleable, highly, like it's just a ballpark. The mind wants to grab it and run with it. Interference wants you to grab it and run with the first picture you get that's off base. Oh, it's about doing a website. I know it's about doing a website. And you just run headlong into website. It's like, if you're thinking that this is an intuitive process the whole way, and that you never need to know exactly what's going on, you just need to know what's the most fun thing to do today. And when you get a multi step process like becoming a facilitator, it's like, it's going to be years before you get to where you're wanting, where you really feel good about where you're going. So it's like, what do I do today? Well, the brain has all these ideas. It's what would be fun to do today. It's like you ask questions, but you're staying, if you think about it as being malleable and flexible. And here's why. Your brain thinks it should look like this, that you start here, and if you can find the exact straight line, if you find the right answer, you go bink, and you're there. And by tomorrow, I'm a full-fledged facilitator and everything's working. Doesn't work that way. Here's what I've found over years, and I'm not trying to be negative about it, and I'm not saying everything is like this, but this is why I'm saying to stay flexible. For bigger things, the more the thing you're aiming for is about taking you to a personal space of internal alignment and onto your thing. I don't want to say purpose exactly, but because it's significant, but taking you in the direction of moving your life forward, it's going to be more like this. Because what happens is interference knows you're trying to get here. It doesn't know how you're going to get there. It knows your goal is to get there. So what it's done is it's set up a minefield that you look at the most direct way to get there, and it's just loaded with garbage. It's loaded with nasty stuff that's just like, ooh, I don't want to go there at all. That is simply interference in the way. And so when you tap into, when I tapped into, okay, here I am now, pre being a facilitator, I'm still in the space of, I think I can do this. And I think I'm maybe good at this, maybe not, maybe I suck really bad. I don't know. But I really want to do this really bad. Like, it just feels like strong. Like, I really want to do this. And that's over here. But when I look from here over to there, this is what I see. Just, oh, yuck. So it's designed to be that way. The more what you're choosing is taking you towards your big goals, your big targets, the more you're going to see this. If I'm just getting a motorbike, it's not going to look like this. It may look very simple. still has a couple of these in there, but this is why you don't get too attached to what you do and what order you do it. You're just following what's light, because your lightness, your intuition knows, okay, there's a minefield here. There's all these stop barricades here that you're going to want to, you get close to this barricade and you're just like, no, I stop, I quit. This is, I can't do this. I quit. Okay. Like you just hit this stop. Like, and so if you're just playing in fun, you're like, well, what would be fun to do? And then tomorrow, well, what would be fun to do today? And what would be fun to do the next day? And what would be fun to do the next day? You find you just meander around all these weird ass obstacles. And one day you find yourself successful. I'm making this oversimplified, but the concept is that it's not a straight line to get from point A to point B, even if you think it should be. Even if you think it's simple, if interference is involved, and we've kind of learned how that works, it is. The more it is involved, and especially if it's purpose-based or it's around your objective, you've got landmines and traps and dead ends where, like, when you hit the dead end, you're like, dead end, there's nowhere to go. This is impossible. It's impossible. This is not possible. There's no way to go. That's just a dead end indicator. Is it true? No. But it means interference has been here already, and interference has set this up. So if you keep this highly malleable instead of thinking, boom, I got to go here, then you're just kind of lightly waltzing around all these obstacles, and you don't even necessarily know the obstacle is there. If you're totally following what's light, you never bump into the obstacles. You're navigating around the obstacles. And so each twist and turn is actually just gathering more information and navigating around interference. You don't need to bash your head into interference. Mind and interference's direction, what interference wants you to do, will lead you straight into the obstacles. They want you to bash really hard into the obstacles, and your mind has been conditioned to do that as well. But if you're just following what's light and fun, you'll just dance around obstacles and may not even be aware the obstacle is there because you never trigger it. What you are doing is going, I have no clue why I'm going this way today when I have a sense my path is here, but it's light and fun. So I'm going to go this way. And then you're like, no, now I'm headed this way. Okay, it's light. And now I'm headed this way. And now I'm headed this way. And now I'm headed this way. But all the while, you're still going in that direction. And then one day you're like, oh, I did it. How did that happen? I don't know, but it was fun. This picture here answers a lot of stuff, especially why don't take things as being a straight line, and why you keep refining and refocusing. Take a step, see what's lighter, go there. Take a step, see what's lighter, go there. And you'll just waltz around the interference, typically where you think you're headed and why you're headed are not accurate. What I originally thought about the direction and even why I was headed that way were not accurate at all, even remotely close. And if I had taken action based on where I think I was supposed to go and why I think I was going there, like I thought it was, it's to become rich and famous. And like, that's what I always wanted, because I was studying with a person who was kind of hung up on that. And it's like, when I started going forward and actually started to get substantial income, I recognized, yeah, that's not what my thing is. My thing is something very different than that. It's very subtle. Like my thing is about research. It's about figuring out like what's really going on here. It's that systems mind that's trying to comprehend and understand. The being rich, having lots of followers, care less. Like not my thing. Like it was so off that if I were to have followed those and not just followed what was fun, I would miss it. I would not be doing my thing. So your path may look like this, not like this. Questions on refining and focusing.
I think for me, it's just confirmed where I was playing this week. At one point, I was playing with whether we actually exist or not, and I'm not totally convinced we do.
I know. I'm with you.
In which case, then all of this is just about the game.
Exactly.
And so I thought, well, that's great. You know, in terms of relieving the significance, the more I treat it all as a game, the easier it's going to get.
Brilliant.
So that kind of
Absolutely brilliant. So that's the kind of stuff that when you're running on your intuition, you start to get those things that drop in that just kind of melt the structure of things. You're like, yeah, I guess it's not that important at all. That's brilliant. Thank you. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Anybody else thoughts on refining, focusing?
I just want to say that the more you talk, the more I feel my brain being rewired, you know? Because we're so used to think like a project manager, you know, I have my big goal and then I have my little goals that I need to achieve every day. And, you know, I must move towards that goal every day and to achieve the big one. And so it's just fun to see my brain being rewired.
Yeah, you get to retire your project manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Oh, I had that project manager, hardcore. Hardcore. Yeah, he's still lounging. He's retired. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Thank you. As I sat down and wrote this up, again, like I lived this. Like I can tell if I'm on the right path when I'm feeling excited about it. Like I was putting this down. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And I'd stop and have some food or stop and be interrupted by something. And I'm just like, whoa, this is so cool. Like I'm right on. Like there's you just feel juiced by a direction that's the right. Not the right. I don't like the word the right, but when you're going on your path, it juices you. And I was doing this and I'm like when I came up with the idea for this drawing, I'm like, oh, wow. Like I've always wanted to see that picture. Like that's like when you see that, it answers so many questions and explains so much that like I did in words too, but like, wow, I see it now. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, to navigate again, what does it create in 10 years if I do this? What does it create in 10 years if I do something else? And keep it simple and follow your fun and excitement. Follow what's light, follow what's enjoyable. And it is kind of like you're making a choice. Do I create a life based on doing it the hard way, doing it the way everybody else does it, bashing into walls and trying to break through those walls and struggles and garbage and blah, 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 failure and blah, blah? Or do I want easy and fun and light? I know it sounds stupid, but that's really the choice you're making. And when you can see it as you explore these two, when you create your mind is still going to kick in and the planner's going to go, oh, we need to do this. And you take a couple steps or a couple days or a couple weeks and you go down the wrong path and you'll be like, oh yeah, I did it again. Okay. What's fun? Because that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun. My brain thought it was, but it was not fun. And it's there's being having fun and body having fun. Some people, and I used to be one of those people who would drag body. It's like I'd push body, drag body. It's like, no, we're doing this. Come on, let's go. Body's like, no, because it's not the right way. No, it's the right way. Let's go. It's like your body knows. And so I can push. Now I'll talk about that in my things here. So I'll say, here are my top tips. Follow your excitement. Your path comes with a built-in energy to make it happen. No energy, you may not be on the right path, or now is not the time for it. It might be one of those things where you go in this direction and then you got to go around an obstacle. So you need to go in this direction. So you need to pause, which drove me crazy because I like to get it done. Get it done. It's like, so you pause and then you go in a different direction for a while, and then you go in another direction for a while, and then you go in another direction for a while, and then you go back to that original direction because you've just circumnavigated some interference. You don't know. But if you're following your excitement and what's juicing you, your energy, it tells you. If you don't have energy, you're going to run into a wall. You're going to run into interference. It's going to suck. And that's just what it's telling you something. Pay attention to your energy. Don't push it where it doesn't flow. It's like there's surfing the wave and there's pushing the wave. There's being in the boat and letting the river carry you. And there's being in the boat and paddling upstream. Okay. When you're in alignment with your flow, you're in the boat and you're being carried upstream. You may choose to paddle to go faster, but you can feel your boat is being carried in that direction. When you're bumping up against interference, you're paddling upstream. You're paddling in a direction that's not, it's like something's not right. It's not the right time. This is not the right direction. Pay attention to your energy. If you're trying to paddle upstream, I mean, there might be little pieces of paddling upstream, but it's fun. When you're paddling upstream and it's like, oh man, this sucks. No. So a phrase that I've adopted is follow the energy, follow the flow. You get it. Actions that have energy are not always linear or logical. I talked about that already enough. Don't hang on to any direction. Follow what creates more and feels better. Things will change. Things will go in a different direction. Just roll with it. Hold creations lightly. Avoid being significant about anything at all. It's just, and that's the cool thing about play and fun is they are so insignificant that it goes completely under the radar. If you need to get things done and it's on a deadline and it's important to get it done, oh, the interference that you get is mind-blowing. And it could take you 2 days to get something done that you could normally do in an hour if it was fun to do. And you'll get things like that where it's like, it's just not fun to do it today. I ain't going to do it. And I'll leave it half done and I'll walk away from it. And I know someday it likely will need to be done. Today ain't the day, and that isn't the direction. And when I get more clarity on it, I'll go. The number of half-done things that I have on my hard drive here are mind-blowing. But what happens is over time, it's like, wow, I just feel the energy to do this. Oh, wait a minute, I started that and I got that. No, I have another piece of that, another piece of that, another piece of that. It's about, for me, it's about how do I keep, I have something I call a ideas vault for all my ideas that were a great idea, but then either ran out of energy or I ran out of time or whatever. They're all sitting in my ideas vault. So when I have excitement for something, it's like, oh, I did something on this. I'll just search that vault for what is everything that has that word in it. It's like, oh, wow, I've done a lot of stuff. I put together whole ebooks just out of little snippets of things that I've written over the course of 5 years, 6 years, 7 years that I'd totally forgotten I wrote, that were all waiting for this. And I didn't know what to do with them, but they were fun in the moment. And now it's fun to put them all together. And now I've got this whole book. I've just started doing that yesterday. It's like, wow, it's almost done. I just have all these pieces. I just got to clean it all up. Holy cow. And so that letting go of things and holding it lightly and just knowing I'm headed in that direction, and somehow or another, it'll all come together, and I'm not going to stress over it. I'm not going to make it significant. I'm just going to play with it as it's fun and easy. If it's significant, interference is involved. Don't go there. Don't follow convention, do you. At the same time, don't avoid convention. For a while, everybody's doing this, so I'm going to do that. That doesn't necessarily work all the time either. So again, follow what's light, but typically convention is what everybody else is doing. And if you haven't noticed, you aren't like everyone else. Anybody else notice that? You're not like everybody else? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's like once you get that and you kind of ease into it, you realize it's a gift you have, and you get to a place where you're glad you're not like everybody else, because you can do some really cool shit and they all go, how did you do that? And you're just like, well, I don't know, I'm not like everybody else. If you notice everybody else is doing something this way, like all the facilitators that were in the group that I was hanging out with, we're all doing this. You know, you got to get on, you got to do, you got to go get other people to promote you, and you got to get yourself out there in their audience, and you have to do telesummits, and you have to do all this kind of stuff. And it just felt heavy to me. But it's like, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, so I need to start doing. And every step I took in that direction just sucked over and over and over. Eventually I'm like, fuck it, I give up. I'm just going to do what's fun. And fun took me there. The sucky just died. It just didn't go anywhere. So if unsure, what I suggest is, it's not about necessarily rejecting other paths or other conventions, but they're going to be bright, shiny objects. And I talk about that later. It's like people are going to tell you this is the most important thing to do. You need to do it this way. And they'll even say those words. You can look at their way, but then clear the points of view that you have, then feel into it. Because they're going to download all these programs, and they're going to download all these structure and all this significance. And then you're going to try to make a judgment through their structures and through their significance. So if you just are like, okay, when it's time to, you take in their point of view, when it's time to make a decision, what are all the points of view that I took in? All the form, structure, significance, go down the whole point of view list, clear all that stuff, all the unconsciousness, blah, 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 all the lining, agreeing, resisting, reacting, all in the pile. And then see, well, would it be fun to do that? Like really ask, would it be fun to do that? And if you get a no, or if it feels like, that's not fun, not the way to go. So do what feels fun to you, not what other people say is, yeah. Avoid bright, shiny object syndrome or the fear of missing out, where it's like, oh, everybody's doing this and this is the newest thing and this will get you $1 million. You've seen those kinds of things. It's like, you could win big, 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 big. And you get all hyped up, and then it's not what it appears to be. Avoid the bright, shiny objects, or look at them, but then clear the points of view about it, and then see, is it still fun? And you could even, if you want, take a tentative step into that direction, and you'll get feedback. That's where taking a step in the direction is going to give you feedback. You start taking a step or two and you're like, yeah, something doesn't feel right here. Not your thing. Do your thing. Okay. ride the momentum to even greater creations. So in the beginning, if you got a big thing that's a multi-year process, or like becoming a facilitator, it's like there's a lot of things you got to do, put in place, and steps you take to get there, wherever there is. It's like when you start, I use my boat analogy. It's like when you first start out, you're like, oh, it's so far, and oh, I'll never get there. And when you've got the mass of a big boat, trying to get that mass moving takes a lot of energy to get it moving. But once you get it moving a little bit, getting it moving a little bit more is not that hard. And getting it moving a little bit more on top of that is not that hard. So if you're in the moment with it, and you're just taking one little step and another little step and another little step, it's not a big deal. And getting that boat moving becomes very simple. Once you're moving, keep it moving. Ride the momentum. Keep the boat moving in that direction. If you're like, oh, I'm going to take a month off, or I'm going to take 2 months off, don't recommend that. If you've got a big project that you're doing, a little bit every so often, I'm not going to define what that is. It's the spinning plates thing, the circus where they have a stick and they have a plate and they spin the plate on the top of the stick and they're balancing the stick. It's that you got to keep the plate spinning, or the basketball in the finger. Like, you got to keep it spinning, because the spinning keeps it balanced. The movement keeps it moving. Roll with the movement. Don't take a long time off. Interference will say, yeah, let's take a big break. Take a little break. Keep taking little steps towards your thing. Work with body. Don't push it or drag it. Or if you push it or drag it, do it in little bits. Like my body, I'll be working and I'm all excited. My being is excited. My body's like, I'm hungry. Jaden, I'm hungry. And I'm like, okay. I used to just totally ignore body. And then body's working against me, and the body gets all pissed off, and not a good thing. And so what I do is like, okay, body, how can we wait 15 minutes and then I'll stop at the end of this section. I'll stop and then we'll go. And body's like, yeah, okay. So work with your body. You can push it a little bit, drag it a little bit if you need to, but the more you look at it as you're building a relationship with your body, and your body is an important player in this. Listening and communicating with your body is the most effective way to keep creating moving. So your body is not something to drag or push as much as we've been conditioned otherwise. Like, listen to your body and like negotiate where you need to, but listen to your body. Your body has a lot of wisdom to give you. Doing the challenging thing. Yes. So we got a lot of stuff up that brought up stuff. So what is everything that's upper active around any of these topics that we brought up? I just noticed it's like the body stuff brought up thing. And can we put all that in the pile? Everybody's on mute.
Yes, I
Or
choose
they're
that.
on the floor going, ah! All in the pile, way up front. And what are all the decisions, judgments, conclusions, computations, projections, expectations, rejections, separations we have around any of these things? Form, structure, significance. Whoa, all that in pile. All the unconsciousness, anti-consciousness, energy fog, disinformation, cloaking, Wernicke's, maybe chaps, covert, unseen, unacknowledged, undisclosed, unknowable, unspeakable, unseeable, untouchable, undetectable. Whoa, all in the pile. What is everything we decided all this stuff means that it doesn't mean? Oh, a lot of interference points of view there. In the pile. Is everything we decided this stuff doesn't mean that it actually does mean? Not much, but anything's not useful in the pile. And what is everything that do we have split polarity? Yeah. So being, what is everything that we're aligning and agreeing around any of this? Resisting and reacting to around any of this? Ooh. Defending for around any of this? Righteous or defending against around any of this? Righteous for around any of this? There's interference. Righteous against, there's interference too. And can we put all that in the pile?
Yes, I choose.
Yep.
Yes, I choose
I
that.
choose that way up front and a little further out. That's big stuff. And body, what is everything that you're aligning and agreeing with? Ugh. Resisting and reacting to, defending for, defending against, righteous for, righteous against. And body, can we let all that go? Body's hesitant. It's like, well, yeah, okay, I guess so. This is about pushing body, I think, for some people. That's what brought it for me anyway. And all that in the pile, way up front, encapsulate. And what are all the stacks, stringers, hooks, triggers, and implants around any of the topics we've engaged today? And all those in the pile. What are the structures, constructs, adaptations, mutations, systems around anything we engaged today? Wow. All that in the pile, way up front. Wow. And what are all the disguised memory implants around anything that we engaged today? Wow. All the fake memories that say, no, the mind is definitely the other better way to do it. And no, you always have to push body. It's like a mule. You got to whip it every so often. Anybody else find that one in there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
do.
like, oh, that's great. Yeah, all that in there. Okay, all those in the pile. All that in the pile. All the other disguised memory implants and anything connected to those, all in the pile, all in the pile, all in the pile. And anything remaining of any stuff that's funky from down below, in the pile, back behind, from up above, and above that, from way up front, from the left, from the right, everything from inside body, head to toe. Wow. Anything from inside planet, on the pile, way up front, encapsulate. Wow. And body planet, let all that go. Not you, not yours, not you, not yours, not you, not yours. Wow. And can we shrink all that stuff down to less than nothing?
Yes, I
Yes,
choose.
I choose that.
Yeah, I choose that. And there was no in there. What is the other? How much is the no? Local no? Foreign or distant? Foreign or distant? Ooh. No, wait, no, wait, no. Bigger stuff. Ooh. No, wait, no, wait, no, wait, no, wait, no, wait. And what are all the exploiters, corruptors, tricksters here? Pre-tag, print caps at all, freeze, step down, trace, scan all. Other customers, clients, shares, stack board directors, controllers, handlers, commanders. Where were we at their creation, assembly, gilding, sourcing, inception, insertion, pre-tag, print caps it, modification, corruption, distortion, pre-tag, print caps it, all. And can we banish all these energies?
Yes, I choose.
Yeah, I choose it. Out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish. Resend a book you can't reclaim bad price. Out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish, out, banish anguish. Wow. And body planet, let all that go. And what are all the manipulations and illusions holding these remaining this interference here? And all the identity theft, borrowed credibility. Ooh. Trojan horses, encapsulate, inversions, upside down, sideways, backwards, a little bit. False reciprocal debt, they helped us, we have to help them, encapsulate. And what are all the recursive entrapments? Oh, all their cores, count the cores. Oh, lots. And can we just write all these, including the cores?
Yes, I choose that.
Yeah, I choose that. And pulverize all the cores. And shrink to less than nothing. No, wait, no, wait, no. Out. Banish anguish. Out. Banish anguish. Out. Banish anguish. Resend a book. You can't reclaim vaporize. No, wait, no, wait. Out. Banish anguish. Yeah. So last things. Doing the challenging thing can be the easiest path sometimes. I need to add the word sometimes to that. There are some times where you look at something that's going in the direction you need to go or that you want to go, and the most fun thing is really challenging. You're like, oh man, that's exciting, but I don't know. Those can be really juicy and they're often really potent. The I don't know is realizing often that you have to become more of you in order to complete this thing that you're gonna, this step or this phase or this whatever. And you look at it, you're like, I have no clue how I'm gonna, like, it's way bigger than me, but it's exciting and you have the energy and power to do it. That is often the easiest path, but it's typically not the only path. If you get to one of those places and you're like, I, uh, no. Sometimes what you need is support. You need a coach. You need somebody to assist you, somebody who's done that same journey before, to help you along, give you suggestions, give you pointers, help you to clear whatever. But it can be the most direct path. But when you find those, realize it's not necessarily the only path. Challenging often just means, hey, there's a shortcut if you go over the mountain here. You can go around the mountain too. It's a longer way. And we know you like it fast. But if you find you have the energy to go up the mountain and it feels fun to go over the mountain, then it might be something to consider. But realize you can also go around the mountain quite often. It's not the only path. There's multiple ways to get there typically. But the contrast here is if you find it's challenging, but it's not exciting, that's when you want to start asking questions. If it's not exciting or you don't have the energy for it, it's not your path, or now's not the right time to do it. But if you find there's a challenging thing, do clearing, start asking questions, and see if the action is right. So there are times when it is challenging and it is like, woo, but notice it's similar. You'll have a similar experience if where you're headed is interference. Thank you, Nellie. If going over the mountain is just purely interference, it's not exciting. And you'll be like, yeah, I just need to push myself to do it. No. If the energy isn't there and it's not exciting, it doesn't seem fun, start asking questions. Okay. But there are sometimes it's challenging. It's not always the easiest path. It can be a challenging path, but there's fun and excitement and it feels doable. Okay. And again, I'm just using different words, but avoid making it important. It's important I get this done today. How often I've told myself that way back years. I got to get this done today. It's important. And body's like, oh man, he still hasn't learned. I don't do it so much anymore. So avoid important because it's the same as significant. It just is a red flag for interference. So learn to find where you're making something important. And that's usually the phrase. It's important I get this done today. Is it? Will the world end if you don't get it done today? Usually doesn't. So that's Jane's list. Any questions? Thoughts?
Seems pretty comprehensive.
I tried for that. Or actually, I would say I had fun doing that. Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to get one thing, and I'll give you this download here, the PDF that you have the same thing. I wanted it all in one place instead of spread out across multiple places. And I was able to condense a lot of stuff. So I was really happy with what I came up with here. So yeah. Anybody else? Questions or anybody left in a funky space? Anything that I missed clearing or brought up in the last two things?
Well, it's not something to clear, but I just want to say that it's wonderful because the way I was seeing like our project, I was seeing it like a big list of clearings that I had to do, because every step I was doing, I mean, it was like an hour of clearing afterwards. So I'm just looking at your map, and okay, well, I just need to ask more questions and find a more fun way to do it, and so I can navigate through
Yeah.
all this interference.
Yeah. Because sometimes clearing is just an indicator of you're going to confront interference. You're hitting a minefield, or you're hitting but yeah. Whereas sometimes you can just skirt around. Other times you can't. Like it's just it's there. One of the failure paths, I don't know if I've ever talked about it. What a lot of people do when they know clearing is they're like, I'm not going to start until I clear first. When the path is totally clear, then I'll start. And I'll tell you, that is the hugest failure path, and interference is all over. It's got written all over that one, because it's almost like if you're taking it just step by step, what's fun every day, and then clearing along the way as it just feels like it's a thing, then it's not a huge deal to clear as you go. But if you're thinking that you need to be clear before you begin because you don't know the whole journey, failure path. It's like you will not know the whole journey. I guarantee it. The bigger the project is, the more unknowns there are involved in it. You will not know the whole path. You can't be clear. Even if you think you're clear, you're not clear. You don't know the whole path. You will never know the whole path. So really, it's like clear as you need to, and clear as it's appropriate, clear as it comes up, but just play with it. Yeah, I like the way you say that. Thank you. It's like, yeah, just have fun with it. Have fun with it.
I was going to say, it's like, at first I thought that the whole thing was a clearing project, but now I realize that it's not.
When you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to clear. What do I clear now? What do I clear now? And I probably spent months in the beginning when I first started to become a facilitator. Well, I'm not clear enough yet to go. I'm not clear enough yet to take any actions. I did that for, I don't know, an embarrassing amount of time I won't talk about. So it's like, that's how you learn all of these different things. It's like, okay, that's not working. I'm clear, but now what? Okay. Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else? Last thoughts, closing comments?
Recording has ended.
Yes, your recording has ended. Yeah. So very cool. I'm excited to have actually gotten all this stuff out, and I feel really good about the way it came together. Like, my body has this indicator that it tells me, like, I know where I'm seeking to go. And when I've gotten there, my body's like, yeah, nailed that. And I got this, like, yeah, you nailed it thing about this. So I feel good about, like, there's a lot of really juicy stuff in today's call. So I feel good about sending you all out and going, hey, go play. And then in future calls, we'll just kind of clean things up and see kind of what we want to do, or we'll just change to a different topic, and we'll just pick up the supporting you in your journey in the Q&A calls. We'll kind of play it by ear and see how things go. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next call.
Thank you, Jaden.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.